How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Data here, and welcome to episode number 1 of our brand new franchise mode series here on NHL 24, taking over the 5+ decades of misfortune and mismanagement that the Vancouver Canucks have suffered, and we are bringing in the GM data era with his team of assistant general managers to try and flip the script. If you saw last episode, the episode number 0 introduction with the franchise overview, you would know that the Canucks are a team that hasn't, it's not the traditional, okay, we're really good, we have success, and we go through a rebuild. Now we got prospects, we're back to being good, and now we go, with the waves of a typical franchise. No, the Canucks have been horrible. Okay, we're looking good, we're getting greater, we're on the brink, and back to rock bottom. We're getting better, and then that cycle continues. Through the 90s and 2000s especially, and over the last decade, this Canucks team has only made the postseason twice. So when it comes to one of our main goals, making sure that Elias Pettersson stays in Vancouver, that's going to be a huge factor that goes into his decision-making process. So over the course of this first season, our goal is to be as good as possible. The team on paper is solid. Pettersson, Miller, Kuzmenko, homegrown talent in Quinn Hughes, Thatcher Demko. But we were brought into Vancouver to make some changes, and that's exactly what we're going to do here in this first episode. Although there are many changes that we could make in the near future, to start off today's episode, we will be making at least one trade to start trying to turn things around. The Canucks in the real world have been looking great, which is very interesting, but in this universe, we're taking over in September of 2023, and none of that has happened yet. So we got to go into things with that understanding and read the comments from the assistant general managers also with that understanding. As we're getting started in this series, just a quick thing that I'm going to say in this first episode is that when you leave a comment on this series, whether it be here on YouTube or over on the Discord server, the link for that is always in the description, my promise to you is that I will always read and reply to every comment that is sent. In the Discord server, it's usually more of a discussion, so I won't always reply one-on-one directly, but a YouTube comment will always receive a reply. In the episode itself, I obviously cannot always go through every comment, especially after an episode like last time where we had over 50 comments, I believe, and then over 100 once I add my replies to it. If I did that, every episode would be well over an hour and a half. So as we're approaching 7,000 subscribers here on the channel, the days of 1 or 2 comments per episode from NHL 19 and 20 are long gone. This is a fantastic community that we have built, and that is why our teams have seen so much success. So if you do leave a comment, I promise it will go into my decision-making process. The reason why I've had so much success is because we really are a hive mind here in this community. Your suggestions truly are taken into consideration and very often put into effect. So I would encourage you, if there's something that you want to add about this series, whether it just be a comment or a suggestion, please do leave it because it is absolutely taken into consideration. Now, all that being said, let's start looking into the comments from last episode, our franchise overview. We identified a couple of big things that we need. I even put a message over on the Vancouver Canucks subreddit asking what do the Canucks need most desperately. I got a lot of answers like new ownership and a lot of things that Canucks fans would love to see. But I think the number one thing that the Canucks want to see would be another top 4 right-handed defenseman. As we see here on the team, we got Quinn Hughes, Filip Hronek, but after that, it drops off dramatically. Yes, Tom Willander is in the system, but it's not much. Speaking of the system, the Canucks really don't have a lot of prospects stocked up in their cupboards, as if we look in the AHL, there's Aatu Räty, there's Lekkerimaki, there's Willander, but those 3 guys are the future of the Canucks right now. So as we move on in our series, we want to make sure that we're also looking towards the future and not just the present, as many of our players are in the mid to late 20s, which is definitely not old, but it's not going to be good for us come the next decade in the 2030s. So that being said, I think our 2 major targets over this next season or so would be to figure out A, who could be a long-term top 4 defenseman, likely on the right side. Carson Soucy, only an 82 overall, but he signed on for 3 more years at 3.25, so he'll get his chance in the top 4 as a big 6'5" defenseman. He needs someone to play with long-term, as Ian Cole is 34 and likely not here beyond this season. On offense, we would love to get a second-line centerman. JT Miller for now can fill in as second-line center, but he doesn't have a good fit on the second line. He would love to be on the first line, where there'd be a lot more chemistry. Miller, Pettersson, and Besser a +5. I would love to see that. But if we put Miller and Pettersson on the same line, that leaves second line center to Pia Suter or Teddy Bluger or Sam Lafferty. And that's definitely not ideal. So in the long term, we definitely want to get a second line centerman. For now, it works. But long term, I think getting JT Miller on the first line is the goal. So that being said, I rambled for a little too much there. Let's actually dive into the comments from the assistant general managers in the last one. Starting off with Drayden, who said, "Hey Data, great video as always. Can't wait for this amazing franchise." Thank you, Drayden. Glad to have you on board. I would say for the second line center, I would go get either Alex Wenberg, who fits in with the rest of the average age of the team, or Shane Pinto, his suspension being the only factor that would really keep him from playing right now. I know you make some great decisions along with all of us assistant GMs throughout this franchise. Go Vancouver, go, despite being a Kraken fan, so I appreciate that from you, Drayden. A lot of us are often fans of different teams. We all come together for the collective in our series, so I appreciate all the non-Canucks fans out there as well. I myself am not a Canucks fan, but I'm excited to bring great glory to this franchise. So a couple of good suggestions there, especially when we're thinking about the second line center. Alex Wenberg, Shane Pinto. Wenberg would be the easier one, as I believe an 82 overall on a team that has seller status, but the Senators having Shane Pinto on the block would be a very difficult trade to swing. Now, I considered it pretty much every which way that we could, and I'd love to go and get Shane Pinto, 82 overall, an RFA. Not that he wants out of Ottawa, but I could see a storyline that makes sense for Pinto leaving the Senators. Medium top 6 potential, 82 overall, 32nd overall pick, second round in 2019, a 20-goal, 35-point rookie season last year. Now, there were some contract negotiations not going super well. Now with the 41-game suspension, all those offers have been pulled, so I'm sure he's not happy about that. But at the same time, the Senators really want to keep him. They've declined very good offers for Shane Pinto, and as Hobbsy, our resident Senators fan, says in his comment in the Discord server, "I know the consensus is Pinto, but if we're sticking to realism, the Sens won't trade him." Now, when I look at it, I think the bigger problem is that both we and the Senators are pressed right up against the cap. The Senators have like $47,000 of cap space, and we have 1.478 right now. In the real world, though, it's like 300-some thousand. I forget the exact number, but it's way less than that in the game. So if we want to get Pinto and then sign him, we need to trade out money. But the Senators can't really take back any money. So if we're trading a guy like Garland or a guy like Besser or whoever else it is, that's someone who's making upwards of 3, 4, 5 million. The Senators cannot take that on. So then it would require us to make a couple of separate deals, maybe a 3-team trade. And although it's possible, I don't know if it's worth all the hassle for a player who in the real world likely isn't leaving Ottawa and is going to serve his suspension and then go from there. So I don't think the Senators are really wanting to trade him in the real world despite being on the block. The game just puts any RFA player on the block. It doesn't actually know what's going on. So I would say let's keep him in mind, especially headed into next season, depending on what happens in his contract situation. For 2023-24, although Pinto was probably the most suggested player, I'm not sure if it makes sense more due to the Senators' cap situation than anything. Even if we want to take back like Mathieu Joseph to help them with the money, then we're over the cap. So it's two teams in tough situations. I just don't think it works as much as I've tried to look at it. Continuing on with Hobbsy's comment in the Discord server while we're here, Hobbsy says that he'd probably lean Wenberg or Danault, whoever has the shortest term left on their contract, as they're probably not a long-term piece. Now, that's looking at for getting a second-line center today. Wenberg an 82 overall, but Danault is an 85 overall, signed for 4 more years at $5.5 million. He does have a modified no-trade clause, so I'm not sure if he would have Vancouver on it or not, but I think given his situation, he would be open to it. In LA, you have Kopitar, even Kempe who can play center. You have Dubois, you have Byfield. Danault, over time, will see less and less ice time. As of right now in NHL 24, he's playing third-line minutes. If we go and acquire him, he will not only be our second-line centerman, but he'll be our number 1 penalty kill, our number 2 power play. He'll get a lot of ice time in Vancouver on a not-so-bad team either. So Danault or Wenberg, definitely 2 possibilities when it comes to the second-line center. Hobbsy would also suggest trading one of Beauvillier, Makayev, or Garland because there's just a surplus of those middle 6 wingers. So if we do make a trade like that, our first line could be Miller, Pettersson, Besser, second line Kuzmenko, second line center who we get, and then one of those guys who are left like Makayev, Garland, or Beauvillier. The third line would be another one of those wingers, Pia Suter and Podkolzin, then Bluger, Lafferty, Hoglander on the fourth. On defense, Hughes, Hronik, Susie, Cole, Pullman, Myers. Not ideal, as we would want to go get a defenseman. And that goes into Hobbsy's second suggestion, where we would move out one of those other wingers and then bring in one of those top 4 D-men. So a lot of different options. Hobbsy, much appreciated for leaving all of those thoughts, as for sure, on day one, there's a lot of different directions we can go in. After Hobbsy's comment comes Pat's comment, and Pat was replying to Golden Gamer, who said, all I've got right now is to consider looking at Danault to fill the second line center spot, because as I just mentioned, it's getting crowded in LA. So Pat says Danault for Garland, Bluger, and some extra things should work out money-wise and trade value-wise. And then taking chemistry into account, the lineup could be Miller, Pettersson, Kuzmenko, Mikheyev, new centerman, Besser, Beauvillier, Suter, and Podkolzin, then Di Giuseppe, Lafferty, Hoglander on the fourth, Dakota Jones as 13th man. Moving down, Garland is likely the odd man out of the 83 to 86 overall guys making 4 to 6 million, as he doesn't have a no trade clause, and he has seemingly the most movable contract, on top of just not really fitting with the rest of the cast, being in a lot of trade talks already. Moving out Garland and bringing in that 2C does sound like the plan. Moving back over to YouTube for Andrew's comment, who says, hey Data, when it comes to extending Pettersson, I would wait until at least the second half of the season. Pettersson has said that he wants to be on a winning team, and there are rumors that he may leave if Vancouver does not make the postseason this year. If the Canucks are in line to make the playoffs, then I'm all for an extension, but if the roster can't pull through, then I think for realism, you go with the storyline of Pettersson requesting a trade, kind of like Matthew Tkachuk out of Calgary. I've always loved your series, and I can't wait to see what you do with one of my favorite teams. Go Canucks, go. Thank you for the kind words, Andrew. I think that's certainly what we'll be doing with Elias Pettersson. I wouldn't say we're in a rush because he's an RFA. Yes, he likely wants out of Vancouver if the team is not looking up in the near future, but I would say it makes sense that with a new direction coming in from GM Data and his team of assistant general managers, even if things didn't go well in year number 1, I could definitely see a storyline where Pettersson signs a 1-year extension as an RFA, and that is the prove it to me deal that could take him to unrestricted free agency if things don't go well. So I wouldn't say it's like 7-8 year extension or bust. It could be just a 1-year thing on Pettersson, and next year is when that actual big decision is made. Having him as an RFA is what helps us out. Plus, keep in mind, I'm sure he'd be excited to be on a team with a new direction, especially if we're starting off our tenure with making a trade. And speaking of trades, we'll go ahead and end it off with Cheating Heel, our resident novelist here on the channel, we'll just skim through this comment, starting it off, oh Data, what have you gotten us into? If we go down to some trade suggestions from Cheating Heel, we see some interesting names like Victor Olofsson in Buffalo, Adam Boquist over in Columbus, as there's an excess of defensemen over there, maybe a Besser Eriksson X-swap in Minnesota, Jordan Eberle expiring deal in Seattle, Sundqvist over in St. Louis, some interesting names in Washington maybe. All of this to say, I just don't think that we should go status quo. We've been brought in to rebuild and get rid of Bennings and Alvin's mistakes, so keeping all these players wouldn't make sense. We need to pull the plug on some of these guys right away and bring in some fresh blood so we can get out of this cap situation that we're in right now. Let's show fans right away that we mean business. Go Nucks. Thank you, Cheating Heel. So as I said at the beginning, there are a ton of other comments I couldn't get to, just flashing on the screen right here. Every player that was suggested, I did go ahead and watch list. So even though I didn't go through the possibility of every single player that was brought up, we are keeping notes on them. So if we go to our watch list, you go to player search and then hit watch listed down here. We're able to see everyone who was suggested on the YouTube comments, the Discord comments, and even over on the Vancouver Canucks subreddit, as I put a post asking, what do the Canucks need most desperately? A lot of comments saying new ownership and stuff along those lines, but a lot of people suggesting a right-handed defenseman, a second-line center, exactly what we've been talking about. So sorting by trade value, here are all the suggestions that we got from the assistant general managers from the top to the bottom here. A couple of UFA suggestions in Alex Edler or Jesse Puljujärvi, some depth guys like Jeannot, some other defensive ideas like Hag or Jackeye, and a lot of other names that you can see here on the list, 21 suggestions to be precise. There were a few others like Danault and Wenberg, but I didn't put them because I think we're going to be trying to make a trade around now. So all that being said, a much longer intro than usual with a lot of comments to go through, so thank you for bearing with me. A ton of good options out there, but with our trade value and our cap situation, we got to be very careful in what we're doing here. And I think the number one target would be Philippe Danault from the LA Kings. One of my own personal favorites, but someone who also makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of good centermen here in LA. Even after Kopitar retires, Dubois, Byfield, you have Kempe who can play center as well. I don't think Danault would ever really get bumped off that third line, but does he want to stay as a third liner? So 85 overall, playing third line minutes. We want to put him power play 2, PK 1, and offensive line 2. One of the better defensive forwards in the NHL, one of my favorites. Danault from the Kings would of course put us over the salary cap. So I'm thinking that we send them back Connor Garland so that we can free up a wing spot. They get a winger while moving out a centerman, but we still need to add some value to make it work. And in the perfect world, we'd also be picking up a defenseman. Any defense that fit for the Kings here? Matt Waugh actually on the block. His salary was reduced so that the Kings wouldn't be over the salary cap, but he is on an expiring deal. Could we get Matt Waugh to be like a long-term right D? 83 overall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know, he's kind of a big piece for the Kings. I don't think they want to move him, even though he's on the block. It's probably more because they don't think they have the money for him. That's true, eh? Bjorn Fott, Clark coming up the system. Maybe that's why. So could we also get Matt Waugh? I was thinking we were going to do a deal with the Kraken where we get Alex Wenberg and maybe even like Adam Larson as right D. But if we can get Danault and Waugh 2 for 1 in one deal, that would be optimal. So we don't have to make 2 separate trades because we already have very limited trade value. So if I trade you back Tucker Poolman just as a placeholder in your top 6 so that you have a defenseman, now you're over the salary cap. That's tough. So we have to play around with it a little bit here. We don't have a lot to give the Kings. Are they interested in anybody? Not really, eh? They're interested in McWard. Cole McWard? Yeah, Cole McWard, undrafted. Low top 6 D potential of 22. I like Cole McWard, but if it's someone that you want, at least that adds something to it. And I guess we're going to have to add a draft pick, unfortunately. It's not what I want to do. Already limited. But if I add a second in 2025, and then I take back a little bit of money, helping you out by taking Englund here. Englund 2 years at 1 million. Then I could just dump him after. This could be something. So the Kings would be getting Connor Garland, an 84 overall winger. If we look at their forwards, 1, 2, 3, 4. Garland would be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's a fine that's a fine forward core. That leaves other, like you got Laferriere, Turcotte who could try and find their way up. Yeah, I could see that being just fine. They move out a center and bring in a winger, despite whatever their trade block says, that this does help their forward core. They move out Matt Waugh, which frees up space for Clark, Spence, whoever else to come up, and they know that they won't lose him to unrestricted free agency. They can get value for him today by getting a second-round pick from us, a not-so-good team. That could be a good pick. A player that they want in McWard, Poolman, who's going to hold a spot in the top 6, but then he's signed for another year at $2.5 million. That wouldn't really help them out because if they're trading Englund 2 years at $1 million, how about I take out Poolman and I'll give you Ian Cole. He's truly a placeholder on an expiring deal. He had to be reduced to $1.5 million. So 2 defensemen who had their salaries reduced so that their teams wouldn't be over the salary cap. This gives you more flexibility long term as Cole's just a 1-year guy. You get a second round pick. You get 3 years of Garland. Okay, I think this could be something that works for us. If we throw in a 7th just as a balancer, just to make sure we're on the right track here, aren't where you need to be. If I take out the 7th, you're a bit off in value, so we're very close here. If I were to add, let's say, New Jersey's 4th this year, so 2nd and a 4th, and I'll take back a 7th in 2024. So we swap a 4th for a 7th in 2024. Trade accepted. All right. Thank you, Los Angeles. There's our first trade in the GM data era for the Vancouver Canucks as Connor Garland and company are out. Phil Danault and Matt Waugh are both in, filling in our 2 biggest holes in our lineup. I was really thinking, going into this episode, I was thinking like Alex Wenberg and Adam Larson was going to be our go-to, but Matt Waugh surprised me and the trade value wasn't horrible. Now let's go ahead and plug these players into our lineup and see how we're looking. Okay, so Phil Danault doesn't have a great fit on the second line, unfortunately. That is a bummer, but with his X factors, it does help us out a little bit. Kuzmenko being here also. If we put Kuzmenko on the first line, it stays with a +5, but Besser doesn't help the second line chemistry. If we move Mikheyev for Hoglander, it works. Same for Podkolzin. Yeah, that's it. So Podkolzin or Hoglander could play second line and get the line chemistry to 0, which would be better. But I think we can roll with the -1 for the time being and see how things go from there. It's not the worst case scenario, especially with a +5 on the first line. I think it's worth it. On defense, Susi and Roy get a +1, which is great. Not his best fit on the second pair, but he has a good fit throughout the 3 pairs. Now, Tyler Myers with Tucker Pullman on the third pair. This is where I think we're going to go out and sign Alex Edler to be third pair left D. Pullman can then be 7th defenseman. Studnicka, or whoever else we'll call it from the AHL, can be 13th forward. We'll probably, maybe Di Giuseppe plays here instead of, I don't know, Lafferty or what? Because I do like the +2 here. What if we swap? If we could do this. +2 on the third line with Bluger and Beauvillier, that wouldn't be bad. So maybe the third line can stay like this, but then the fourth line, if we were to go out and make some sort of move, like trading a bunch of our excess to a team that needs it for a pick, maybe something like that. I don't know, just me kind of talking out loud here. We got to make some more changes because in the AHL, as we saw last time, just too many good players. It's not enough room for our guys to grow if we're going to keep all these like fringe guys. I don't know, like Dries, Joshua, Di Giuseppe, McDonough. It's just too many. Then on defense, it's Brisebois. So I think there's a couple more trades to be made, and I'll go ahead and make those. Trade number 1, Friedman, Brisebois, and Johansson to New Jersey for a 5th. Trade accepted. Thank you very much. Trade number 2, just swapping 7ths with the Flyers so we can dump all these players because we need to get them off the team. Absolute no-brainer for us here in Philadelphia. Without us putting in the 7th, it was laughing us out of the room. We add the 7th, now everyone's happy. So we just need to dump those players. They had negative value. We swap 7ths. There you go. And there you go, that's much better now. I still have to fix up the lines, but at least it's not so many players that we want in our lineup who are the healthy scratches. So a couple of trades there, basically just swapping a 7th and getting a 5th, I believe. So nothing really too game-breaking in my opinion. What we're going to do now is advance a day. I'm going to have a bunch of scouts signing on in the near future, so we'll just wait on that. But in the meanwhile, we may as well begin the preseason. No reason not to. Just, of course, got to send out the contract offer to Alex Edler. Can't forget him. There you go. Alex Edler, will give him a nice 1-year deal. A max, well, 1 year, $1 million sounds fine for Alex Edler. 81 overall. He'll hopefully be able to play his 1,000th game as a Canuck, so looking forward to that if he can get in the lineup and stay healthy. All we got to do is wait and see if he wants to sign on. So we'll just keep advancing a few days into the preseason now. We're not really looking at anything too special in the preseason itself, so I wouldn't say we're worried about line combinations and stuff like that just yet. We could swap some wingers around, and I guess I could do some experimentation with that in the preseason, but really not much else we're looking at. Like, I'm not going to tear my hair out over Bluger versus Suter for 3rd and 4th line center. That'll be more during the regular season when we actually see NHL levels of competition. For now, what I'll do is start sending out the scouts since they've all signed on, and then we'll keep on simulating. Continuing on now, waiting for Edler to sign, and there he is. I was extremely happy to accept your offer. Your cash offer was most generous, and it really was quite easy to make up my mind about your offer. Alex Edler, welcome back to Vancouver, my friend. Let's get you back in the lineup. And there we have it, back where he belongs, the former 3rd-round pick in 2004. Unfortunately, a -2 with Tyler Myers on the 3rd pair, but we'll probably learn to live with it. Or we can swap him with Susi and it's a 0, or these two switch. Actually, we could do this, but then Matt was playing on the 3rd pair. That would not be ideal. I'll fix up some more lines and special teams and power play and all that once the actual preseason ends. So let's go ahead and get to the end of the preseason now. All right, so here at the end of the preseason, we ended up going 5-2-0 through those 7 games. Elias Pettersson leading the way with 9 points. Elias. It's Elias. I keep saying Elias. It's Elias Pettersson. He and JT Miller led the team with 9 points in 7 games. Filip Hronek looked very good with 6. Quinn Hughes with 5. Beauvillier, Hoglander both with 4. Very good. I did fix up the power play unit, so I'll show you those in a moment. Matt Roy had 3 points. Philippe Danault with a couple goals, but -2. Kuzmenko a couple goals. Again, it's some things are concerning, but it's also a really small sample size against teams that aren't actually how they're supposed to look. Goaltending, let's see, Demko played all 7 games when 5-2-0. That's great. I thought with auto goalie rotate turned on, DeSmith would have gotten a couple of starts, but Demko got all 7. Doesn't really change my life because we already knew what our goalie situation would be heading into the season. So all that being said, I think we're ready to head into the regular season, ladies and gentlemen. The 2023-24 NHL season will kick off at home against the Edmonton Oilers. Oilers. If you're curious, here's how the special teams units are going to be looking to start the season with our lines like this. Power play will look like this for unit number 1 with a +5, and our second unit will look like this with a 0. I'm thinking spread out the wealth and Kuzmenko goes second unit to help it out and really be the leader on that unit so that Besser can be on the first unit and not have as much pressure if he were the guy in the second unit, but maybe we can still turn it around and change things up. Penalty kill, +2 on unit number 1, a +2 on unit number 2, and a +1 on unit number 3. I don't think there's anything else to really show you there, but let me know if I'm missing anything. And that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the wait is finally over. The introduction, the comments, the moves, the trades, the team is built. We've made some changes. This is our squad to start the season. Let's see the first game of the GM data era at Rogers Arena in Vancouver, hosting an all-Canadian matchup against Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. First period, it's 1-0 Oilers after 20. Of course, it's Connor McDavid opening it up on Thatcher Demko. Second period now, 3-1 Canucks. How about that for an answer in the second period? Kuzmenko opens it up a minute and 40 seconds in, then JT Miller, and then finally just about a minute and a half after that, Ilya Mikheyev. 3 goals on 19 shots past Stuart Skinner, and we're up by 2 headed into the third period after being down by 1 headed into the second. Now in the third period, we're leading the shots by a little bit. Power play opportunity. It's a 5-on-3. First chance to get something, but no dice from the 5-on-3, then the 5-on-4. We're still leading in the shot category by quite a bit, but Derek Ryan makes it a 1-goal game. Then Zach Hyman, a minute and 31 seconds later, ties it up. It's 3-3 with a minute 20 to go, and we're headed to overtime. Down 1-0, up 3-1, and now a 3-3 tie after 60 minutes. Shots end 30-25 in our favor, but we're headed to overtime. Very fitting for our first game with the Canucks. Here we are in overtime, 3-on-3 action for 5 minutes in Vancouver. Apologies if the sound is not perfect, as it's my first game hopping in. I'll have to make edits to it if I find that's too loud later on. One-timer! Thatcher Demko robs Connor McDavid with the glove, and we still have life in overtime. Pettersson, Kuzmenko, and Hughes are out against McDavid, Draisaitl, and I think Evan Bouchard. McDavid wins it back to Bouchard. There he is. Keeps it in. Gives over McDavid. That shot is blocked. In the corner now is Kuzmenko. Up to Hughes now. The captain. First game as captain. Quinn Hughes to Elias Pettersson. He's got space. Hughes off the post. The captain rings it off the post, looking for the game winner in his first game with the C on his jersey. Back the other way. McDavid's hit. It's a breakaway for Evan Bouchard, and it's stopped by Thatcher Demko. Back the other way again. Pettersson up to Kuzmenko now. Get it away. And now here's Pettersson with some space, looking for some support. He comes in. Hughes again on the doorstep, once again turned aside. Hyman now throws it back to, hold on, giveaway. It's Brock Besser. What a flurry of opportunities for both sides here. Big hit from Besser. Now here comes Evan Bouchard with his second breakaway of the overtime period. Bouchard is stoned once again by Demko. Now here comes Hughes back the other way. Besser's on a break. It's back and forth pond hockey. Brock Besser stopped by Skinner. Pettersson in the corner loses to Bouchard, and it's a breakaway again. I can't catch my breath. Hyman, he's on fumes. He can't get a good shot off as Demko will pass it out to Besser. And now here comes JT Miller. Miller, he's got space. Back and forth we go. And Skinner will finally hang on to that one. Oh my goodness, how about that for a first minute and a half here in overtime? Woo, wow. Offensive zone faceoff now. Each team had at least 2 or 3 breakaway opportunities. Miller, Besser, and Hronek are out for the Canucks. Miller loses that draw. Darnell Nurse can't get out of the zone. Here's McLeod, who's going to circle back and give it to Nurse, looking for an exit. Nurse takes it himself over the blue line and into Vancouver territory. Over to Evander Kane. Stopped by Demko, and he'll hang on. Miller at the dot for the defensive draw, ties up his man, and Besser's going to come away with it. Very good. Besser exits his territory, gets pinned along the boards, but finds his way out, skating back in his own zone. There you go. Hronek, look for the man. There he is. JT, the game on his stick. JT Miller scores! His second of the night is the game winner, and the Canucks win the season opener. 4-3 the final against the Oilers. Look at this. What a sequence. Love the graphics here along the boards and all that. Very nice, especially in a victory. Let's take it all in. The first of many to come in the data error. Look at this. Fans up in the 300 section in the nosebleeds are eating it up. JT Miller scores his second of the night and gets the game winner to start off this new dynasty. Maybe dynasty is too big of a word, but you know what? I said it. Shots ended 34-31 in our favor, and we start off the season with a huge 4-3 overtime victory at home. Dano's first game, Roy's first game. So great to see for Quinn Hughes' debut as captain as well. Let's get a little sample size of simulation done. I don't think there's any game in particular that we need to go see. Let's say just a couple of weeks or so, and we'll see how things are looking after that. Simulation a lot faster in the calendar now, which is great to see. In Edmonton, we win 3-2 after winning at home. Great. Then a huge 8-3 loss in Philly. 5-3 win followed by a 6-4 loss. Then a 3-1 win against the Predators. 3-1 loss, 4-1 loss. Head coach replaced there, and a 4-3 win. So we're 5-4-0 through the first 9 games. Let's get a 10-game sample size in on the road against the Sharks, and we shut them out 2-0. Very nice. So 6-4-0 through our first 10 games. Very good to see. Through those 10 games, are there any glaring things we need to fix? Yeah, that second line, that plus-minus right away stands out to me. Pettersson, Kuzmenko, both looking good. JT Miller, Besser. The points are fine, but -5 with 8 points, -6 with 7 points. That's not going to fly long term. Hronek, Hughes only 6 assists. Okay, no problem. Take it slow, buddy. Mikheyev, Lafferty. Anyone really slacking here at the bottom? Edler, -4. Myers, -6. Yeah, it might not be a good pairing. Yeah. Only 1 goal in 10 games from Anthony Beauvillier. He's playing 13.55 a night. He's getting opportunities out there. Hoglander, with way less ice time, has 3 assists at least. And the goaltending, Demko got that shutout. Yeah, he's 4-3-0. Worst numbers. DeSmith looks better, but Demko's coming off a shutout. Hopefully he can just, he has to find his footing a little bit. Let's make some of those minor adjustments in the lineup. And we'll do that by swapping Besser and Kuzmenko, even though it's still +5, -1. And on defense, I'm going to try, should it be, yeah, probably Soucy comes down. Even though Roy swapping with Myers does give it a +2. You know what? Matt Roy is like the quarterback of our second power play unit. So even if it's a little less ice time, in the name of getting a +2 in that second unit, that might be worth it. Let's see. So far, chemistry seems to mean something, as the 2 changes that we had to make were on lines or pairings where there were negatives. So let's go with that assumption. Let's continue simulating on into the month of November. Nothing really to go see just yet, I don't think. Jet Woo's healthy down in the AHL, so we'll get him in there. Very nice. 3-1 win. Hold on, we gotta swap it back. 3-1 win. Without the AHL though. Yeah, okay, it was actually a 3-2 loss, then a 4-2 loss. And these are tight games here. Any team you want to go see? Maybe let's go see Calgary. Let's see a good matchup against the Flames. A few Canadian teams coming up here as we beat the Senators 2-1 on the road, then a 3-2 win on the road as well. Shutout 2-0 against the Canadians, and then 4-3 win against the Islanders. 9-7-0 is our record here against the 7-7-1 Calgary Flames in Calgary. First period, 0-0. Second period, 0-0 once more. Shots are 24-15 in our favor. Power play to start the period. It's a power play goal from Kuzmenko on that second unit. Very good to see. Mackenzie Weegar ties it up on even strength. Power play Calgary's killed off. Power play for the Canucks now. There's our second power play goal of the game from Hoglander. Love to see it. 2-1 Canucks, possibly his first goal of the season. Power play Flames. Ruzicka scores just as it expires. Final 4 minutes, we're all tied up. And Backlund gets a backbreaker. Oh, that's devastating. But Elias Pettersson, thank you, Elias Pettersson. Oh, thank you, Elias Pettersson. Ties it up at 3. Shots end 35-24, and we at least get a point. They will mean a ton towards the end of the season, that's for sure. 3-3 in overtime. Nothing comes from it. And in the shootout, we win with a goal from the captain. Quinn Hughes gives us the 4-3 victory from down 3-2 late to winning 4-3. That's the resiliency that we want to see from this team. Pulled groin from Teddy Bluger, the first injury for the NHL squad this season. So Pia Suter will come up to the third line and maintain the +2. And then on that fourth line, I know Dakota Joshua and Phil DiGiuseppe have been great in the real world, but Studnicka has the potential as low top 6. Can I see it? Or no, not now. The screen won't show me, but he has low top 6 potential, so I want to get him ice time when possible. If he never plays, maybe it'll be better if we send him down, but for now, he'll play as fourth line center. I didn't see how long Bluger's out until, but I doubt it's for very long. No thank you. Boston, that's a crazy offer. That would never happen. Seattle, they were way below 500 and they beat us 5-1. Then we get shut out 3-0 against the Canucks. We're 10-9-0, just hovering around 500. Now facing the 13-3-1 Avalanche. Can we have a big statement game right here, or are more changes necessary? First period, 1-0 Avalanche, it's Ross Colton. Second period, 3-1, there's the statement. Podkolzin, and then 2 power play goals, Beauvillier and Pettersson. We're up by 2 headed into the third, 3-1 Canucks. Power play goal from Nathan McKinnon to make it 3-2, and then Nichushkin. So 2 power play goals right away. They're still on the power play. Hold on, pause. What happened here that they get that power play like that? Hooking major. What? A hooking major to Mikheyev, and then a high sticking minor. So they're still on the power play. Finally, it wraps up. They score 2 goals from it, as it's 3-3 with under 10 to go. They've pulled away in the shots as well, 33-27 with 5 minutes left now. Next goal may very well be the winner with 2 minutes to go in this one. Final minute, and Rantanen will score with 29 seconds left, and we lose 4-3 in regulation. Bringing our record to 10-10 through, 10-10, it wasn't overtime, through 20 games. Yeah, not ideal. So time to start looking at where changes could be made before we get into drastic things. JT Miller has 16 points in 20 games. That's great. Pettersson with 19. Brock Besser, 5 goals, 8 assists. Okay. 4-12 for Kuzmenko, 5-9 for Danault. -12? What? Mikheyev, 4 goals and a -12 in 20 games. All right, so Mikheyev's going to move down. Does anyone get good chemistry on the second line? No, just zeros. Podkolzin has 2 goals in 20 games. Hoglander, 1 goal, 3 assists. Wow, there's no depth scoring here at all. Beauvillier, okay, Beauvillier is coming up, I guess, to play with Danault and Kuzmenko. This is horrible. That -1 can't be doing all of that. Can it? Unless JT Miller comes down. Even if he stays as wing. I'm not saying we're going to move him to center and Danault goes to third line center. That's not why he came to this team. But it does take away the +5 from the first line. So Miller and Danault together, we'll try that. Yeah, all right. Kuzmenko, Pettersson, Besser, Miller, Danault, Beauvillier, Mikheyev, Suter, and Podkolzin on the third line with a +2. Hughes, 8 assists, -7. Hronik, 3 goals, 8 assists, -6. Tyler Myers is a -11. Come on. Matt Waugh looks great. Let's try Waugh moving up, Soucy moving down. Let's try let's try that, I guess. Demko, 907 save percentage. DeSmith, 921. DeSmith, you'll start next game, I suppose. Highlight players, R1. Okay, thank you. Bluger should be back soon. He had 5 points in 17 games, so it'd be nice to have him back. But yeah, we probably even have a better record than we should at this point. Will he be back by next game? Yes, he will be. All right. So let's get him in here for the game against the Kraken. Studnicka, how'd you look, buddy? No points, 1 minor penalty, only 6:10 of ice time per night. Yeah, it's 4th line center. So Bluger will come back. Was Bluger only playing that much? No, he's playing 11:06. I guess there weren't just many penalty kill opportunities there because Bluger plays penalty kill. So Studnicka, thanks for your time. Is he waiver eligible? Yes, he is. So we can't just send him down. Yeah, unfortunately. Maybe we should have brought him up and left Giuseppe or Dries or someone there. Yeah, that's my bad. I'm going to take a moment here just to update the scouting, then we'll keep on simulating. All right, scouting's done. Let's get back to it. On the road at Climate Pledge Arena, this has to be a win against the 5-12-4 Seattle Kraken. Maybe it makes even more sense as to why we might go out and look at Wenberg as a third-line center. I don't know. Who knows? We could see by the end of this episode. First period, 2-0 Kraken. Burakovsky scores twice. Second period, 4-1. We got 1 goal from JT Miller. 4 goals on 25 shots by the way sub-500 Kraken. Make it 5 on 28. Oh my goodness, 6-1 Kraken. This team is absolutely cursed. This is wild. 10-11-0 as we fall below 500. I'm not going to make more changes just yet after the ones we just made, but oh my goodness. Let's just get into the month of December. Maybe even just to the 30th to see the Golden Knights, but they're 12-9-2. I don't see that as a crazy matchup that we got to go see. Let's just sim into December and see what happens then. So win and shoot in the shootout against the Sharks, then loss in regulation. Couple of wins in regulation there, thank goodness. And we lose 3-2 against the Devils. 3-0 shutout victory against the Wild. We're 14-13-0. Let's go see Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks. Let's see that. Connor Bedard against his childhood team in Chicago. There you go. 5-3 loss against the Carolina Hurricanes, and they send us that trade offer. 6-5 win against the Lightning. We're finally scoring some goals. Robert Hagg, not yet. 4-1 win, 4-2 loss. All right, we're 16, 15, and 0, basically going 1.5 steps forward and 1 step back pretty much. Here on the road in Chicago against Connor Bedard. First period, 2-2. Kuzmenko and Pettersson open it up to put us up by 2. Then a power play goal from Reichel and even strength from Kurashev to tie it back up. Second period, 4-3. Pettersson and Miller both on the power play. So Pettersson and Miller score even strength. Pettersson even strength and Kuzmenko even strength. Then a couple power play goals to start the second period on the same power play, it looks like, within 21 seconds of each other. But then Connor Bedard on the power play, his first goal versus the Canucks. 4-3 Vancouver headed into the third period, just holding on to a 1-goal lead. I would love to see some more. We've been scoring some goals in recent games, it looks like, again in the calendar. Power play killed off by the Blackhawks, under 10 to go. Power play for Chicago, we killed that off, thank goodness. Final 5, another power play for Chicago. We kill it off again. 2 big ones late in the third period, and it'll be a 5-3 victory as Teddy Bluger adds the empty netter. All right, we need some wins here. Let's go a few games above 500, not just sticking within 1 win constantly. 17, 15, and 0 through 32 games. We are approaching the halfway point. And we're yet to play the Kings, huh? That's true. We want to go see the Kings sometime. Where are the Kings out here? No games against the Kings anytime soon, I suppose. All right, let's keep moving into January then. Maybe a game against the Penguins. Why not? The team we just finished with in NHL 23. Shootout win, pulled groin to Podkolzin. Shootout win there against the Predators. We're undefeated beyond regulation, so that's good at least. Hoglander is going to go back to the third line. I forgot, actually, Teddy Bluger is supposed to be on the third line, not the fourth line. P.S. Suter's been doing okay or what? I'm going to go back to how it's supposed to be, though. I totally forgot about that. My apologies. And Studnicka will come in on the fourth line. There you go. All right. Back to it. We are in Dallas. Not going to do that just yet, but Hag is one guy that we did have watch listed. 7-4 loss, 6-4 loss, then a 4-0 shutout victory. So up and down, it's ridiculous. We're going to get to that game against the Penguins. 36 games, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. Yeah, actually the halfway point would be just against the Penguins there, no? Or would it be the game before? And then Podkolzin's already healthy again. Okay, Studnicka, you're out. Thanks for your time. There you go, Podkolzin. Back to the lineup. Hold on, let's pause. Okay, so 4-0 victory. Our first loss beyond regulation with a 5-4 shootout loss against the Senators. That brings us to 37 games. 38, 39, 40, 41. So the halfway point is against the Islanders. And then next episode starts against the Penguins. 6-1 win, 3-1 win, 3-1 win. All right, 3 consecutive victories. And we're on top of the Pacific Division somehow. All right, let's take advantage while we can. We're on the road here against the Islanders on Long Island. First period, 0-0, shots 15-8. Wow, for the Islanders. Second period, 2-1. Beauvillier scores in the power play against his old team. I forgot to mention the storyline there. Beauvillier versus Horvat. He opens up the scoring. Tyler Myers makes it 2-0. Then Barzal in the power play makes it a 2-1 game. Shots 23-17 for the Islanders. Mikheyev makes it a 2-goal lead for us now. 3-1 Vancouver. Power play for the Canucks, killed off by the Islanders. Shots are back to even. Actually, we're leading, but Bo Horvat, the former captain, top 50 Bo, makes it a 1-goal game. Power play Islanders, but Beauvillier scores shorthanded! A power play and a shorthanded goal for Beauvillier against his old team. How about that? In his old arena to boot. Philippe Danault adds his first slow sim goal as a Canuck, and it's a 5-2 victory for Vancouver. Shots end 34-30 for us. Beauvillier first star in this one with 2 goals and an assist. Danault a goal and 2 assists. And the former captain, Big Bo, ends as third star with a goal and an assist. So at the halfway point, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? It's not so horrible. We're on pace to go 46, 34, and 2, which is still that's a few too many regulation losses for me, but we currently sit atop the Pacific Division. So let's take a second to check things out now that we are pausing at the halfway point before starting up next episode. In the entire NHL, we are currently sitting 8th. So you know what? It's not horrible. It's not horrible. The worst teams in the league, yeah, like the Kraken are 10, 23, and 7. So 47 points for us, not bad. We're getting scored on more than we're scoring, but as of late, we've been doing well. Our power play is at 25%, which is second best in the NHL, and our penalty kills at 81.5, which is, yeah, much closer to the bottom than the top. And our record here in the last few games here, we're 8-10-1 at home, 15-7-0 on the road, and 7-2-1 in our last 10 games. Kuzmenko is leading the way with 42 points in 41 games. Really happy to see that. Doing well in the second power play unit. Pedersen, 20 goals and 37 points. Besser, 34, so he's on pace for a 68-point season. Very nice. Philippe Danault's on pace for 66. Love to see it, but he's a negative 11. JT Miller also on pace for 66. Hronek's on pace for 52 points, more than Quinn Hughes, who's on pace for, 36? Wow. Beauvillier really turned it around, 13 goals and 21 points. He's been doing very well in the second line, so let's hope that he keeps that up. Hronek as well. Hughes, got to pick it up a little bit, buddy. Mikheyev, 14. Yeah, Mikheyev, negative 14 with 14 points. I think he's a prime trade candidate. Höglander has 13 points. I wouldn't mind getting him up to the third line. Lafferty, 12. Suter, 12. Matt Watt, 10 points. Susie, 8. Where's Podkolzin? What? 2 goals and 3 points, averaging 12, 22 a night. Podkolzin, you're killing me. Höglander's doing way better. I wouldn't mind if Mikheyev moved out, then Podkolzin and Höglander can play together. But then, Höglander's looking a lot better than Podkolzin right now. Sunika, 1 assist through 5 games. And Edler, by the way, 5 points in 41 games. What a monster. Goaltending. Demko is 17-14-1 with 3 shutouts, but a .909 save percentage and 3.03 goals against. Meanwhile, DeSmith somehow has a .500 record of 6-6, but a .924 save percentage and 2.44 goals against average. So we got to be scoring a lot more. The top guys have been good, but we got to be scoring a lot more, especially our depth scoring. That's why I wouldn't mind moving out Mikheyev for that. Austin Matthews is looking incredible. He has 62 points in 38 games. Just looking at the league leaders, if you are curious. Who signed Patrick Kane? That's what I want to see. Patrick Kane signed with the Buffalo Sabres. There he is. And best goalies in the league right now, Georgiev, of course. Hellebuck, Skinner even, yeah. But high goals against average. That's why in EA land you can never get a good mix of scoring and goaltending peripherals. So what we'll want to do now, ladies and gentlemen, before wrapping up is look at the trade blocks around the NHL, because although we're looking good, I think we're a prime candidate of teams in the league that are wanting to say, like, we could use a little piece or two to make sure we get to that postseason. So here in Anaheim, here are the pieces on the block if you're curious. We did have Haig watch listed as one of those guys. Robert Haig, defensive defenseman, left-handed, possibly for that third pair. Tyler Myers, even if we don't move him out, maybe we just get a better defenseman and he moves into 7th D. I don't know. There's Anaheim. Arizona, Brown, and Carcone. The Bruins have Lysell on the block. Not a bad prospect there. The Sabres, Johnson, Olofsson, Clifton, Okposo, and Zemgus Girgensons. So Olofsson, okay. Olofsson actually 14 goals, 15 assists, playing second-line minutes in Buffalo. But they're a winning team. I don't know if they'd want to really do that. Calgary has Mackenzie Weegar on the block. Same for Kadri, Tanev, Backlund, Coleman, and Hunt. The Flames are around 500. The Hurricanes have some prospects on the block there. The Blackhawks, nobody. Avalanche, nobody. Blue Jackets, Damon Severson with his big extension. Crowley, Robinson, a few other names. Dallas, we see Kyrou, Stranges, Stankoven. Detroit, yeah, a lot of names in Detroit. Perron, Petrie, Ghost, Comfer, Kopp, Mata. Wow, and they're 16, 21, and 3, so it makes sense to see them selling so many players. Do we want to go and get a David Perron, maybe, type of thing? Would that be interesting? 7 goals, 17 assists, negative 12 right now with a bad Detroit team. Petrie, 17 points, negative 5. Ghost, expiring deal, 21 points and a +2, eating a lot of minutes. Andrew Kopp. Yeah, let me know if you want to know more, though. If you ever want more details, leave a comment or tell me on Discord. I'll get you a picture as well in the Discord server if you ever want to know more information. Oilers, Bourgault, and Petrov. The Panthers, Coughlin. The Kings have Arvidsson still on their block, as well as Moore, Lewis, and Tynan. The Wild, nobody. Les Canadiens, Armia. The Predators, Barry, McDonough, and Shen. The Devils, Palat, Howla, Tierney, Nosek, Lazar, Wieland. Islanders, Bolduc and Ishkov. The Rangers, a few prospect pieces. The Senators still have Pinto on their block. He never ended up signing. Flyers, nobody. Penguins, nobody. Sharks, Burrows. The Kraken. Here's who I was thinking about on the Kraken. I wanted to go after a guy like maybe Adam Larson, maybe a Jordan Eberle type of thing. That could be possible, but they do have a lot of trade value. Eberle has 30 points in 40 games. Larson has 13 points. It's a negative 11. They definitely have trade value. I won't deny that. Plus, they would cost some money, but a lot of good names on the block in Seattle. Basically, the whole team. Wenberg, 7 goals, 16 assists, and a +1 in 40 games. Keep these names in mind in Seattle. The Blues, yeah, let's see. The Blues have a lot of names as well. They are around 500, though, so I don't know if it makes sense for them to be selling so hard. Their captain, Braden Shen, yeah. Falk, Krug, Hayes, everybody. Oscar Sundqvist, who we had mentioned earlier, 9 points, -4. Scandella, who's watch listed, 6 assists, -4. Yeah, Lightning. Anthony Chiarelli, wow, his 8-year contract on the block. All right, and a couple other pieces. Maple Leafs, some prospects. Vegas, some prospects. Washington, Max Pacioretty has 29 points in 38 games. How's his durability? 75 durability. Wilson, Backstrom, Oshie, Mantha, and Dowd. I don't know if it makes sense to trade for Nick Backstrom with him being pretty much, I don't know, retired or his career over or what in the real world. And they're 22, 11, and 5. It's not going to happen. And Winnipeg, just Johannesson. So there are the trade blocks around the NHL, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to know anything else, please let me know and I'll get it to you. Keep in mind, we can still look at some of the free agents who are out here. If we're looking at the UFAs in the NHL, some fan favorite names like Phil Kessel, also Zach Parise, a good veteran at 81 overall. Max Comtois, Josh Archibald, Libor Hayek is out there, but I think, did Puljujarvi get signed in the end? Yeah, looks like Puljujarvi got signed. It wasn't the right timing for us, but if we're moving out Podkolzin and we have a wing open maybe, if we move out Podkolzin and Mikheyev, maybe a veteran comes in? I don't know. Just to keep in mind, not a bad idea. And if you are curious about what our current expiring players will be looking for as contracts, Pettersson in that $9+ million range. 1 year, by the way, actually would keep him as an RFA. So if we were to keep him, it would probably be a 2-year deal. Unless it's, and it depends on the storyline that we want to build here. But just a correction on a mistake that I made earlier about 1 more year wouldn't bring him to UFA, it would bring him to RFA. Keep in mind that we'd have about $20 million to play with, but I'm not sure if that includes the actual buyout cost of Oliver Ekman-Larsson, which we'll have to factor in on our own. So could be closer to like the 17 million range. Hronek will be looking at 6 million as well, a 5x6. Actually, I might want to sign this right now for Hronek. Right now, as in at the beginning of next episode. 5x6 on Hronek would probably be a very like proper and digestible number, as opposed to the 4x8.5 or the 6x8.7. 5x6 about would probably be a very fair deal for Hronek. Matt Roy would also be looking for something around 5x5. And Anthony Beauvillier would want 2.7. So he's looking good. I don't know if it makes sense to sign him for 3x2.7. Maybe, then for 1 year he wants way more. Maybe like 3x2.85, 3x3. I don't know. Things we can keep in mind. We don't need to do it now, but he is an expiring UFA. Then Bluger, all these other guys, Myers. We got to just try and factor in, do we have the money for these extensions when we're also taking into consideration the Oliver Ekman-Larsson buyout? And, you know, if we were to trade out Mikheyev, that would free up some money next season as well, which wouldn't be a bad idea. So another reason why I think moving Mikheyev would make a lot of sense here at the halfway point in year number 1. So ladies and gentlemen, there is our first episode with the Canucks. Things turned around. You know, we're 23-17-1. We had a good last 10 games. Next episode, we will begin the second half of our first season, including the trade deadline. So fingers crossed for that. Be sure to leave any and all your suggestions down here on YouTube or over on the Discord server, and they will be integrated into episode number 2. Leave a like if you're excited for this new series here in Vancouver, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already to be made aware of all of our uploads for our Canucks franchise mode series, our San Francisco Starfleet expansion live franchise mode series as well, which is live every Thursday evening here on the channel at 7 p.m. Eastern. Career simulation, we just put out the Zach Benson NHL 24 career sim, and much, much more. So if you enjoy this video, you enjoy these series, you'll be that much stronger of a community with you as a part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for taking the time to watch. I'm looking forward to reading all your thoughts and seeing you again in the next one.